Over in California, Los Angeles County has declared a state of emergency over ICE raids. Yes, city leaders passing a proclamation allowing the county to offer illegal aliens taxpayer-funded financial support if they have been impacted by federal immigration enforcement. That includes rent relief and legal aid. ICE clapping back at Los Angeles County in a statement to Fox in part, quote, "The only state of emergency is the one the residents of Los Angeles face after electing officials who gave a middle finger to the law. Perhaps the board should supervise funds to support law-abiding fire victims who still haven't recovered instead of criminal illegal aliens seeking refuge in their sanctuary city." Joining me now live on set, Ms. Lansky Partners President Lee Carter and the Federalist reporter Brianna Lyman. Great to have you both with us. Lee, I will go ahead and start with you. What's happening in California? People who are in this country illegally should go home. They should not be receiving federal aid for rent and food because they've encountered immigration officials.
I mean, they're declaring a state of emergency over law enforcement officials enforcing the law. And so now what we have is people in Los Angeles who have suffered from wildfires, who have been displaced, who are citizens, are not getting the same level of support that we're giving to illegal immigrants right now. That's just unfair. No matter which way you look at it, it seems wrong. These are the laws that are on the books. And how could that cause a state of emergency? And how could we then say that these people are all entitled up to $15,000 in back rent, in court-appointed help, and other things that just seem so unnecessary when there's so many people right here who need the help right now?
Yeah, and we're outraged by it. But Brianna, in California, they keep pressing forward with this progressive liberal agenda.
Yeah, the real state of emergency, to everybody's point, is the fact that Los Angeles is declaring a state of emergency against the rule of law. And what's really egregious about this is just about 8 weeks ago, the county decided to slash the district attorney's budget by about $25 million, despite pushback from local law enforcement and officials who worry that, cutting the budget like that could hurt public safety. But yet they have the money to pay for illegal aliens. That's what's upsetting to so many people. And so the question becomes, who does Los Angeles care about? Do they care about their law-abiding citizens and taxpayers, or do they care about illegal aliens? And the fact remains, they have declared a state of emergency against the rule of law.
Well, I think they've made it pretty clear who they care about, and that's part of the problem. And then you ask yourself why people in California keep voting the same leaders in.
Well, you also have to ask yourself, these are the same people who are voting this in that are also saying when Trump executes his executive privilege, then he's an authoritarian.
Right.
So
no kings.
The hypocrisy knows no bounds in this case, because you can't have it both ways. You can't say that Trump can't do it, but we can. And it's just sort of astounding, the logic that's going on here.
Where do you think we go from here, Brianna? Because what I see across the country in liberal states versus conservative states is a deeper and deeper polarization. I think what we're going to see here in New York, and we'll talk about the candidate for mayor, the communist candidate in just one moment, but what we're going to see is people fleeing to a state that represents their values and protects their economic freedoms as a result of what other people want in a particular place. And so that polarization just deepens as we move forward.
Yeah, it does. And look, you go back to last year, the signs that were held up at the RNC convention were mass deportations now, and that has still remained relatively popular. I think it was upwards of 70% of individuals in the entire country want violent illegal aliens deported, and more than 50% want any illegal alien deported. So despite the pushback from the left, mass deportations for anyone here illegally is still popular, and it's the right thing to do.
All right. Let's get to this. Socialist mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani still can't answer for how he plans to fund his multi-billion-dollar New York City agenda if Governor Hochul sticks by her vow to not raise taxes.
I've said that the two clear ways to do so, raising personal income taxes on the top 1% by 2%, and raising the corporate tax to match that of New Jersey's corporate tax of 11.5%. Now, if there are other ways to raise this money to fund this agenda, the most important thing is that we fund the agenda.
So what would you cut? What would you draw from to do it?
I don't think we have to cut. I've spoken about raising taxes on the wealthiest.
So a lot of individuals in this city pay more than 50% of their income in taxes. When you talk about a fair share, how much more than, what is the fair share? What's the number?
If you're making $1 million in New York City, or more than that, you can afford to pay 2% more. And the reasons you can afford to do so is because that money will be used to better your quality of life as well.
Okay, that last part really infuriated me because taxing people that live in this city that are making over a certain income with his policies is not going to improve their quality of life. But Lee, the only way that he can do it, the only way that he has to fund this agenda is to raise taxes on the wealthy and to raise taxes on corporations. And I will tell you right now, if he does that, if he's allowed to do it, both will leave. If he can't do it because Hochul or maybe a Governor Stefanik tells him you can't do this, he will not be able to enact any of these policies.
Either way, I think he's going to be the next mayor of the city. And it is absolutely astounding when you look at the voting population in New York City, the people who are supporting him are the very people that will be hurt by his policies.
Right.
It is young, upwardly mobile professionals who are making more than six figures, who are saying, this is what we want. They're listening to him say that he's going to make New York City more affordable. They're listening to the message that he's promising, rent stabilization, all of this, and it sounds good on the surface. But you're absolutely right. What's going to happen is the wealthiest are going to leave, businesses are going to leave, and the city is going to be in disrepair. And all of his promises might not even be able to happen in the first place. But he has a lead that I just don't see how he's stoppable.
Yet somehow, in the latest Quinnipiac poll, he's got 46% of the vote. Andrew Cuomo has 33%, and Curtis Sliwa has 15%. So this goes back to the polarization that we're talking about, Brianna, and how somebody like this could gain a foothold in this city.
Yeah, and I think if this is the Quinnipiac poll from last week, it's interesting because if you look at some of the biggest issues, when voters were asked who would lower the cost of housing, Mamdani beats Cuomo by 23 points. But on issues of safety, public schools, and a relationship between the city and the federal government, Cuomo's only behind by about 5 or 6 points, which means that Mamdani's lead is only due to the fact that he has talked about affordability. He made that the issue of this race, and a lot of New Yorkers aren't focused on what he's going to do to make it affordable. They're just focused on the fact that, wow, someone is hearing us cry that it is too expensive to live in New York City.
Right.
So the fact that he tapped into that is the reason he's ahead, and unfortunately, we didn't get enough of that from Cuomo, Adams, or Sliwa.
There was no answer on funding today other than tax the rich and tax corporations. And affordability was the word that he seized on when he was asked about any topic, even foreign policy overseas. He brought it back to this crisis because he knows that that's something that people are stuck to right now, even though he doesn't have the answers. Ladies, thank you for being here. Great to see you both, Brianna and Lee. All right.